showtime. Showtime. Showtime.
Showtime. Showtime.
Showtime. Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime. Showtime. Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime. Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime! Ed Berliner, the fastest show in sports.
Greetings, true believers. Welcome back into the fastest show in sports. I am your host. I am your ringmaster. I am the guy who has the controls in his hand. I am Ed Berliner. For those of you listening on podcast, those of you watching on audio on the YouTube channel as well, my guest today is sitting right next to me. He is to my right. He is to your left. Whatever it takes, wherever he is there on the screen. It is a pleasure to be joined by the sports analyst and the lead handicapper at Paramount Sports, a guy who has been talking sports for almost as long as I have. And he's a UM guy, University of Miami, which means, I got to give him a break for that as well. Lee Sterling joins us on the fastest show in sports. Hey, Lee.
How are you, Ed? I've known, obviously, of you and listened to you for many years, and we have a mutual friend, and that's how we've met a couple times. Joe Nelson, former University of Miami baseball player and really good guy, a member of the 1985 baseball championship team. So
Joey and I, every time we get together for whatever reason, we're always talking about stories from that. And the big story that we tell, next time you get a chance to talk to Joe, ask him about the what we called mall killing in Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay.
And that was me and Joe and a couple of the other ball players who were just having fun on those days we weren't at Rosenblatt Stadium for the College World Series.
Joe has some great stories. I mean, we played for Ron Frazier and being around that team that knocked off Texas and also Mississippi State, who had 4 All-Stars on that team in Major League Baseball. Some great times.
I don't get down to the U much, and for the people listening on a national sense, we're talking about the University of Miami baseball team, the Miami Hurricanes, and I was the play-by-play voice for several years there, and a couple of years that we went to Omaha, Nebraska for the College World Series. So that's some of the fondest memories I have, and the head coach there, Ron Frazier, legendary in college baseball. That's the guy who made college baseball in many ways with his marketing skills and his P.T. Barnum ideas. But it always catches me a little bit, Lee, because I don't get back to the stadium for most people there. We all know it as Mark Light Stadium. Right. It is now Alex Rodriguez Field, which I am going to change. I don't know how long it's going to take me. Lee, I've been working with this. I'm working with Ron Frazier's daughter. We are going to change that name and get Alex Rodriguez, the cheater, get his name off that damn ballpark and make it Ron Frazier Ballpark. That's what it is. It should be named after Frazier. Yes?
I agree. I'm behind you 100%. You mean showing up one time a year isn't enough for him?
He doesn't even show up one time a year. Not only that,
no, I see him about one time a year.
Does he really still?
I'm in the Damari box sometimes next to them. So he's there about on average one time a year.
And what most people don't know, which we'll just give you a little background here before we launch into the show, Alex Rodriguez was a choice, had selected to go to the University of Miami for his college career. But he signed pro before that, never played a game at UM, never stepped foot in any official capacity as a member of the Miami Hurricanes. And here he comes in and he throws his money at it to help with the renovation. And they stick his name on the ballpark when he had absolutely nothing to do. And the Light family had been there for many years and has been there for many years supporting the team. And then Ron Frazier and so many others who have been through that place every single day, almost every single year. And not only that, Lee, the guy's a cheat. He's a steroid cheat. I mean, that's my biggest issue.
I agree with you 100%. So not a fan. So
okay.
I collect a lot of memorabilia. Never had anything from Alex Rodriguez. So
yeah, no. Well, okay. So I will be in touch with you then somewhere down the road because I'm going to start rolling this very soon. I want to change the name of that place to Ron Frazier Stadium Or I even said Ron Frazier Field at Mark Light Stadium should be better.
That sounds even better. That's perfect. Because Mark Light, I remember going to games when I was, 7, 8, 9 years old. I remember I think it was the 1972 season when they had the $10,000 dinner, Maine Lobsters, at second base. So here's something that you probably don't even know. So not only was Ron Frazier good friends with Marshall Rosenberg, not sure if you're familiar with the name, and Marshall,
know the name but don't know the connection.
Okay, Marshall had a box right behind home plate, and Marshall's son and I played baseball, high school baseball together. But my mom was actually, how about this, college roommates with Skip Bertman's wife for 2 years at the University of Florida. So my dad was actually very close with Skip, and taught him a lot about baseball.
For people who don't know, Skip Bertman was the assistant coach to Ron Frazier for many years, who then went on to become a legendary coach in his own right at LSU. And Skip's one of the true legends of the game for all he brought to it. And in those years with Frazier and Skip Bertman, it was like watching Major League Managers. People always ask me about that, but when I did the play-by-play for that, I treated it not as a college game, but I treated it as a pro broadcast. And here's the manager, here's the coach, here's the players, because it had the feel of being as cohesive as a professional game. In many ways, it was better. Maybe the fastballs were just a tad slower, and the swings maybe weren't as big. But in the same breath, when I saw Phil Lane hit a home run over the stadium, over the clock, over the scoreboard in left field, and I called that game. I called it as a moonshot. I'd never seen a baseball travel that far in my life. And then the next one I saw travel far was a guy named Darren Mandel, who everybody called Beef, and we were at a playoff game in Tallahassee against Florida State, and they had a scoreboard in left field, left center field. He hit a ball one day that hit the Seminole right in the eye. It was a perfect shot. So it was like calling a Major League Baseball game. It was that much fun, Lee.
Didn't know that. I played college football at a school called Southwest Texas State, now Texas State. And I actually transferred back to Miami for my senior year. So I'm thinking, I just want to go to school and get out. I was actually invited to try out for the baseball team. Probably would have been a late defensive replacement, pitch runner type deal. Wouldn't have started at all because of my connection with Ron and also Skip Bertman, because I ran a legitimate 4.4 40. There's not too many baseball players that do that, and I turned it down. So one of my only regrets, I have a FCS championship ring. Could have been one of the only people that had one in both sports, but not a whole lot of regret. Enjoyed it watching that team. I just didn't like baseball practices, and I just couldn't see myself standing out in the outfield and just being a pitch runner and a ninth inning replacement. So, I still got one ring. When Joe and I get together, we've got everything, all the bases covered.
Oh yeah, that's and it was very aptly named the happiest team in America back in the 80s, and it really was. It was. My time with them was short, but all the friendships I made from that. I was at the reunion recently and saw a lot of the guys that I hadn't seen in many, many years. I don't get down to the light very often because I absolutely refuse to go to Dade County.
You got to do it on a Saturday. You can't do it during the week because of the traffic, but love to have you down on a Saturday, or if you get off early Friday and, we'll head to Titanic, have our dinner and beer and walk 40 yards over to the stadium, and still a good time.
Yeah, no, it was a good time. My wife, Shannon, she had never been before, so I took her down this year to a game, and I took her to that reunion game. And, of course, I didn't get to see a lot of the guys because they were up in the skybox partying most of the game. And I said to even Joey when he came out afterwards, I said, "What did you call me, man? There's free beer. Come on, I'm the member of the media. Free beer and free food. You call me." He said, "I'll do it next time." I said, "Yeah, another 50 years, another 30 years, whatever it is. That's fine."
Maybe 5 years.
Maybe 5 years. That'd be nice.
5 years.
All right, let's get cooking here because we got a long way to go and a short time to get there, and we got something we really got to focus on here today. Lee, with your background, and this fits perfectly too, Major League Baseball right now is in trouble, and they've really got to sit back and be very careful where they go from here because they have got a gambling scandal on their hands that is not quite what anybody was prepared for, where you have not one, but two pitchers on the Cleveland Guardians who are being investigated now for gambling irregularities, Emmanuel Clase, Luis Ortiz, and the Guardians themselves are being guarded in all of this. They have to be. But let's think about this for a moment. You have two players under suspicion. Lee, I can't imagine for a moment that Major League Baseball wouldn't go to this level and have players taken off the field unless they had something. I mean, they're not just going to throw it out there as a maybe. So here we are in a society where gambling has become part of the sports landscape. It even drives sports in many ways. And now you have, again, we've seen this before, but you got players that are involved who get paid pretty damn well, I might add. But even this, the taint of this, Lee, even if they clear these guys, wouldn't you agree that this is just simply not go away? This is dangerous.
It looks bad. I mean, if you just look at the evidence as far as people betting on individual pitches, I've never done it. So I'll do some end game wagering in every major sport. But, betting on pitches, I mean, that to me is taking it to the next level. I could never do that. So, I mean, you really have to almost be a big time degenerate or dig really deep into some algorithms to find something there. But it doesn't look like an algorithm. I mean, there's some serious allegations, and it looks like, in both cases, like they were tipping it to someone. So could be a friend, could be, someone as far as inside their family. But if you look at what is being alleged, it looks like they're guilty. So we'll see how the investigation continues. But,
But wouldn't it be fair to say, Lee, that with all this and with your knowledge of wagering, if you've got a pitcher who is tipping a pitch that is being then bet upon in a micro betting scandal, if you will, somebody else has got to be in on this. I mean,
it could be
reeks
as
of
simple
it.
as one person. They could be, we've seen it before where people jamming in bets in kiosks, 15 to 30 bets on, in basketball, we saw that player that, he's banned for life. So, things like that. That's the only really good thing is because there's so many safeguards now, if they see an unusual something going on, they can usually sniff it out. And, if they've got the facts, if a guy's pitching his first pitch and every single time it's a ball, 12, 13, 14 straight batters when he comes in, that first pitch, well, what does that tell you? I mean, there's no real good reliever that's going to throw 12, 13, or 14 straight balls to the first batter he faces, and most of them weren't even close. So, I mean, if you're going to bet on something like that, there's a lot better ways that you can disguise it. So you want to bet some other things, but problem is people are stupid. They're selfish. They're looking to make the quick dollar, and usually doesn't work out. So I'm all for all the different safeguards that most of these different sports have. And trust me, all these different sportsbook managers, and I know quite a few of them, when they see something like that, they're on the phone to the next, sports book. They're like, we just got a bet. Did you get a bet like this? We just got 10 bets like this. So,
well, what can they really do, Lee? I mean, there's so many ways to gamble anymore. In Florida, the only way that you can gamble is through the Seminole casinos, the Hard Rock.
Right.
But in every other state, you have minutia gambling, that I've always called it, which is where it really started in Vegas, as you're talking about a quarter, a frame, an inning, a pitch, whatever it is.
Right.
But with regard to all this, when you say the players are, you didn't say players, but when you said people are stupid.
Right.
how can these guys be that stupid, and I'm talking about the players now, to basically say, I can get away with this when what you just described is a back channel checking system through all of the legitimate gamblers and all of the legitimate books, where if one person sees something on a bet in Atlantic City, and I'm guessing right now, you know much better than I do, who then contacts the person in Vegas, who contacts the person in Texas, who contacts the person somewhere else, and says, we've got something strange going on. Aren't these guys just as dumb as dirt not to realize that somebody's going to pick this up? It's become that sophisticated.
Yeah, so here's the situation. I found out about injuries before. Nothing illegal, but I found out about injuries before. But I'm sure not going to bet, $10, $20, $30,000 in one place. I'm going to bet at different places. I'm doing nothing wrong. I've done some homework, and I feel, let's say, the backup quarterback isn't even close to the starter, and I find out about something on a Wednesday. I'm going to bet it. I'm going to bet it many different places. Now, there are some states still, believe it or not, like Mississippi and the state of Washington, where you have to be on site to wager. And we know now that 95% of the bets are bet through an app. So, the bottom line is some of these states like New York, New Jersey, Michigan, they're picking up on things. Ohio was one of them. There was another gambling, something going on with a college coach. I don't know if you remember that about 2 years ago.
Yes.
Where a college coach tipped that his starting pitcher was going to pitch. And a friend of his ended up, I think it was in something like Louisiana or something like that, some state in the South, an SEC school. He ends up going to a sports book in Ohio and has a picture of what he wants to bet. And he's trying to jam in more than 10,000. I think it was 10,000 or more on a college baseball selection. So, it's unfortunate. Overall, gambling, I think, is good. It can be fun. You go to these, even if it's a hockey game, it keeps people there. Let's say you have a total, and the total's 6.5, and the score is 4-2. You see some people staying there, even if the road team ends up scoring a goal with 5 seconds to go on an empty net. You see people standing up and cheering like crazy. So as long as it's, kept in moderation and it's for fun, I think overall it's a good thing for the sport, but there's always going to be a few bad apples and everything.
Yeah, I'm going to play devil's advocate on this one because as soon as you said gambling, first of all, I'm not a gambler. I will
know that.
Look, I'll go to the casinos every now and then. I'm a blackjack guy. I love playing craps. But I've never, because I was in that industry and I'm still in that industry technically as a journalist for so many years, I wouldn't even dare to go close to a gambling parlor or any way like that to place a bet on a sporting event, because if I worked it and I worked in that and I got caught, the networks would have fired me in a heartbeat. I mean, but not only that, I go back to a time when I was doing radio in Miami and doing talk shows at night on WIOD, which was the original sports line, and we were told flat out, do not talk about gambling odds. Don't mention them. Don't bring them into the play because it's illegal. You cannot place a legal bet. See, that goes back to what, 1852? I mean, I'm showing my age here. Yeah. But with all of that, when you say gambling is good, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many, it's not that good, because what you're doing is you're taking a game, a sporting event, and the only reason people care is that over-under, is whether or not you're going to win the game. They don't give a damn about the sport itself. All they care about is whether or not they're going to cash in. And doesn't that take away from the pleasure of the game? See, but I'm going to probably preface this a little bit. You're going to say, no, Ed, that adds to the pleasure of the game. To me, it takes away from the sport itself, and it seems as if we're still creating that generation that absolutely, positively, without question, I am hooked on gambling, and if it's not gambling, I don't give a damn what happens in the game.
Well, I mean, let's look at a game, let's say on a Thursday night. Let's say Southern Miss is playing Mississippi State. Average person is not going to watch that game, but they've got something on the game, makes it interesting. So, let's say you go to a movie, and the average bet is not as much as you think it is. Most people think it's $50, $100. I think it's something like $13 is the average size bet. So let's say you go to a movie, and it now costs almost $20 to go to a movie. If you're wagering, let's say you go 1-1, you win one Thursday night, and the Friday night game you lose. You bet $20. The average odds, obviously, when you win 20. When you lose 22. The bet plus 10%. Where are you going to get 6-7 hours of entertainment for $2? The average person is going to split. So
but you don't care about the outcome. You don't really care about the outcome of the game for the sport itself. All you care about is if I make a buck. Again, I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Totally, I wouldn't say totally. I mean, there's so many different ways. I mean, there's kids that are playing now. You learn the players. Kids are playing, the different video games, so you can learn players there. I understand your argument, and until I got out of college, I didn't wager on games, but my father did. He was a dentist, hung around with some guys that did, and my wife almost all the time can't even tell who I'm wagering on. So to me, it's not going to affect me. Some people it does affect it. I don't think it's as bad as smoking or some other things. So to me, it's more entertainment as long as, like I said, you can learn how to, handle it in your life. There are some cases, 2-3% of the people that have trouble gambling. And
hang on right there, because you will admit that gambling is an addiction. It is because when you say it's not as bad as cigarettes or as smoking, I get it, because you're basically sucking a carcinogen into your lungs to kill yourself. And I mean, I'm a vehement anti-smoker, so I go off on that all the time. But in essence, you even said it yourself. You said, and I think you might have, I don't want to read into it. I want to be sure that I'm clear. You said kids are doing it, or kids are playing. Isn't that also part of the issue here, that we now have a younger generation, in many ways an illegal younger generation, sometimes at 14, 15, 16 years of age, that are getting involved in gambling? And it doesn't seem as if the entities themselves, Lee, the legal entities, are doing enough about it. It looks like they're just casting their glance somewhere else.
They shouldn't be. It's 21 to gamble legally.
Well, yeah, but there are people. There are kids doing. When you said kids, you were just being just a generic thing. But
more college kids. Like, I go to games in Miami. I go to Heat games. I go to hockey games. I go to football games, and I see people, wagering. I'm not a proponent of betting on, like I said, individual plays. But if they want to do end-game wagering, I don't have a problem with it. There is,
if it's legal, if you're of legal age,
because it's legal.
Correct.
There's addictions. Sex is an addiction, Ed. People have a problem.
Well, we could go there, and we could go off on a 5.5-hour show on that one. We'd probably get the biggest ratings the show has ever gotten. But no, I follow you on that. But the point I'm making here with this one is, it's the idea that there is an underage generation that is also betting on games, 14, 15, 16, 17. That's illegal, number one. Right. And it's not being addressed by the legal books or the legal corporate to basically try and stop it. And two, if you look at it, there are still many kids who are getting older brothers, older sisters, maybe even parents placing bets for them, which is helping the addiction of the young kids. I realize that I'm butting my head against a lot of things that gamblers are going to smack me over. I mean, there's people listening and watching to this right now that are saying, "Shut up, Ed, it's just gambling, there's no big deal." But I am thinking about the fact that there is an underage gambling culture in this country that is dangerous, that is addictive at that age, that can turn people and make a very bad life for a lot of people. Yes?
Yeah, I've seen, I usually don't see it start at 14, 15, but sometimes in high schools, we have friends who have kids that go to high schools, and those kids do gamble. They probably put bets in through their parents, and they go to college, and there's illegal bookies. They were there when I was in college. So, I know about the culture, and they take your bets, and you don't have to be 21 years old. So I'm not for underage gambling. I'm not going to support it ever. But if it's legal and you're 21 or older, hopefully you gamble gamble responsibly. But I've seen a few cases where, kids have outstepped their boundaries and lost too much money, and it can affect their lives. So,
but shouldn't the multi-million-dollar conglomerates that are basically in charge of gambling, whether it be the leagues themselves or DraftKings or the sports books or the governments, whatever you want to call it, but the people who are in charge at the upper level here, shouldn't they be doing more to try and bring some light into that facet of gambling and try and snuff that out? It doesn't seem to me, Lee, like they do nearly enough to address the issue.
Probably a little bit more. It's hard to root out that young. What happens is a kid, let's say 17, 18 years old, high school senior, freshman in college, they're going along for a couple weeks, couple months, and they're back and forth. And then they have a real bad weekend. And let's say they lose $2,000, $3,000. They're trying to catch up. They're down 400 or 500, and they do a couple, 2-3 bets, double or nothing. And, we've all heard about Make-Up Monday. They get to Monday night, they're down 1,000. They don't want to have to ask their parents or friends for money, and they'll bet $1,000 on the game. I'm just picking an imaginary number. And all of a sudden they're down $2,000 and they don't have that kind of money. Then they got to reach out for help. So it can be a problem. But the biggest problem might be, these different, casinos and sports books that dealing with the big time players. They will keep giving them credit. I mean, I've been in Vegas and I've seen people get markers for, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they're gambling and they're exhausted at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. And I'm playing, 25, 50, 75 bucks a hand. And I see guys playing a couple $1,000s a hand and losing, and they're doing nothing about it. And they keep asking for marker after marker. At that point, they should step in and say, listen, you probably had enough tonight, but very rarely to say.
Yeah, but isn't that fantasy in many ways? Because the casinos, once they got you in the door, their job is to hook you, which is why there's no windows to see outside in a casino. They continue to keep it as cold as possible in the casino.
Yep.
They have carpet, which is in a myriad type of designs, which kind of fixates you and almost hypnotizes you at a time. The lights, the smells, everything that goes on, that's their job. Let's face it.
And never a clock. You'll never see a clock.
Never a clock in a casino either. The casino's job is to bankrupt you. It is to take every single dime that you own. It is to take your mortgage. It is to take your kids' education. It is to take all that. But then again, if you're an adult and you're in there and you're shoveling your life savings away, why should we stop them? I mean, it's a catch-22. You got to stop people from sometimes hurting themselves, right?
Well, let's look at my profession. There's people out there, Ed, that are saying they're 36-1 last 37 games, which is an impossibility.
That's bullshit.
I mean, I think the most I've ever won was 15 or 16 games in a row. I mean, and I've been doing this now heading into my 32nd year. So shows you how tough it is. Someone wins 55, 56% of the time, they've had a good season. So what happens is, I mean, there's guys all over X/Twitter, Instagram, posting pictures with Lamborghinis, posting stacks of money.
This is old news, Lee. I mean, shoot, when I was doing radio ads and TV a long time ago, you'd always catch it. That's what a lot of the radio shows and the radio networks kind of banked on for a while. TV did it too. Hi, I've had 572 winners in a row, and all you have to do is give me $5. I'll give you the first one for free, and I'll make you a millionaire. This crap has been going on for decades.
And people fall for it, Ed.
And they fall for it. They're suckers.
Yeah. I mean, I run across it all the time. I'd say probably half the people that sign up with me for the first time have had a horrible experience before. They have usually signed up with one of these hucksters and using a fake name and pictures of boats, cars, homes, stacks of money,
women.
And they'll fall for it all.
There comes back to sex again. But if they do all this and people still fall for it, why should we care? I mean, there's that one side of it which says we need to care because it's a national addiction that is costing people their lives. Some people commit suicide because of it. It is destroying the lives of children and families. It is destroying the economy in many ways of a certain town, region, city, whatever it is. But someone's going to be that inherently, unbelievably, galactically stupid and is going to basically shovel all their cash at a casino or or OTB or any of these other places where they can place wagers. Why should we care?
Every single profession, Ed. There's people running scams. They're saying that you can get 30 to 50% on your money back for 1 year. It's been guys like Nevin Shapiro running scams.
Oh, so Jesus Christ.
Every profession, Ed, there's a scam. It just obviously you and I think a little bit different, but I think there is more that the sports books should do to try to make it, where people are, doing it between the guidelines and there's less problems, but nothing's ever going to be perfect. They're not going to do it here, Ed. They're going to spend their money somewhere else and get scammed somewhere else.
Well, there's that line that's always in there. It says, gamble responsibly, bet responsibly. And that sometimes is the only guardrail that is out there for anybody when it comes down to gambling advertising. I've seen it all. I've seen it in the app advertising. I've seen it in the various casinos. I've seen it from DraftKings. And it always is at the end. We're going to make you a millionaire. Go ahead and come on in here and spend all your money. We're going to be just fine. And you're going to make a fortune in this and you're going to be a millionaire. Gamble responsibly.
And the people they have promoting it. The new thing now is to pick the beautiful woman and have her talk about gambling. I've had a couple of them call me. Yeah, they call me. I've had a couple of them call me and they admit to me, I haven't done this, but a year or two now, I heard you on radio, I'm trying to get better at this, but bottom, they don't want winners. You think DraftKings is going to sponsor a show or
no, they want losers.
They want people that just throw out wagers and have, sound like they're semi smart and they'll spout out a couple different facts. So it is what it is. And
it's a
I just
business.
stay in my
They're
lane
in it to make money. Last time I checked, the casinos are not there to make sure that you're happy and wonderful and you're having a great time. Look, you don't even get free drinks anymore in the damn casino when you're at the tables. And there's no more buffets. You can't even eat those anymore. Those are great to go to.
You're at the wrong casino. They still give out free drinks almost everywhere.
Where? Not at the Hard Rock. Not at the Hard Rocks in Florida.
Yeah. Well, that's the Hard Rock. That's why I don't go there.
Okay, so, but that's the difference. But they're all.
I'm different, Ed. I can go to Europe for 2 weeks and not place a bet. So, baseball, I'm not as proficient as baseball. I used to do it. I have two people that work for me, and I give it out to my clients because I found two people to win for me. But I can take off for a couple of weeks and not make a wager. So, you're always in every single line of work. You're going to find scammers. So, there's radio stations, that try to get people from another station, hire them, and, they promise them the world. So,
don't talk to me about the shitstorm that is sports talk radio and news talk radio. I could go off on that. We could spend another 12 hours on that and how bad that's been. Would it be your advice then that if you're watching TV, if you're listening to the radio, if you're on your app, if anything, and you're seeing this come through, where somebody is out there saying, I'm the greatest gambler in the world, I've got 56 winners in a row, I can make you a fortune, all you have to do is send me your name and address, I'll give you the first 5 bets for free, it won't cost you a thing. If you see something like that, run as fast as you can, because if you do not, you are the dumbest human being on earth.
I agree 100%. So
then what does the gambler do then? Because look, it's legal. We should talk in that sense. It is legal. So where do they go if they want to learn how to gamble? I don't see. There's another thing too. I know people who say, "We'll teach you how to gamble." I don't know if that's possible, Lee. I think that's you either have it or you don't.
Oh no, you can. There's podcasts. Back in the day, there was no stats. There was no internet. I remember running to Al's newsstand in South Miami to get newspapers from different cities. That's how I, looked at injuries. Then I progressed with my father. I had a client who did very well, and he loved football. We used to go to spring games for about 10, 15 years. I went to spring games, and I would look for new coaches, new offensive coordinators, new quarterbacks coming in. If I could find two of the three, I'd go to, let's say, 3 or 4 spring games in a week over 3 or 4 weeks. If I caught 10 or 12 spring games, there's going to be a couple teams I'm going to be able to find something out about and get an edge. So, looking at stats and algorithms, there's so many different things that are available to you. Like I said, it's being responsible, and there's a lot of math-based stuff there. I think I've been successful because I can use my background as a former college quarterback and also being pretty proficient in math. So I try to use both together. And if you're going to use someone, if you're not going to do it on your own, use someone who is using their real name, and somewhere either on their website or some tracking service, they've got a history where you can see every game that they've given out for at least the last 4 to 5 years.
Is it fair to say that since they are now completely in bed with the gambling industry, Major League sports, and even to a not much even a lesser extent, but college sports in America simply could never survive again without gambling? It is now a part of their DNA, and it will always remain, and it will grow and increase as we move forward. Yes?
Yeah, but we don't see that many scandals, Ed. Let's be honest. I mean,
well,
you hear
okay,
about
but hang on. I'll get to that in a second. Let's stay away from the scandals. But for the fact, indeed, it's just the sports themselves. They have gotten so deeply in
I
bed.
see the draft, the FanDuel, the DraftKings, the BetMGMs, the Bet Rivers. I see all the ads, and even the offshores. They're there. So I do think there's no going back now. Because there's too much.
Survive. That's my point. Sports right now, especially if you look at things like the NFL and the NBA, there's no way in hell they could ever survive. If you took the gambling out of their sport right now, you would take away billions of dollars in revenue, and they would collapse.
But what might even be worse, Ed, is college sports. Used to be you saw the freshmen come in. So I think there's less than 10 teams that are returning 15 or more starters. Almost, I think like 80% of the teams have 12 or less starters returning. I mean, there's a bunch of teams that have 14 to 16 projected starters that are transfers from other schools. You have no background with these kids. It used to be when we were in Miami, you saw Warren Sapp. Started off as a tight end. He progressed to a defensive lineman and then ends up becoming a star by the time his junior or senior season. So there's something about that love. And I used to go to Dolphin games and following a guy's career. And then you got free agency, and free agency led to, NIL. So to me, there's not the love that it used to be.
It is now a financial break, a financial issue for all of the sports leagues to get involved. Now, then, that goes to the next part where you talked about, and you mentioned a moment ago, that there's not that many scandals. But can we not say that because they are so deeply in bed with the gambling element in America right now, there will be more scandals? And every major league out there has got to spend a hell of a lot more time worrying about where the fixing is coming from. And not only that, hey, Lee, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't doubt whatsoever, and I can't prove this at all. This is complete supposition on my part, that there are people involved in Major League sports, in every single sport. If they are at the C level, that top level of management, and they sniff something about a fix being in, I say in complete assuredness that some people are going to bury it. They won't come out and they won't say it.
Look at Tim Donaghy, the whole, that was unofficial. So, it's going to happen. I thought there would be a few less occurrences than we're seeing. I mean, you would think someone making $800,000, $1 million a year, most of the minimums for the major sports, that's what it's at. You would think you'd keep your mouth shut and not tell anyone about anything that could jeopardize your career. But there's stupid people everywhere. I
it's
mean,
the excitement, Lee.
It happened. Look what's going on with our politicians. There's probably, I'm guessing, 70 to 80% get stock tips. They're making a fortune. So maybe that's,
and those
even
are
worse.
illegal too
So,
in many ways.
right.
There's a number of those that are completely illegal that are pretty much left buried. There are people in a position of power that are burying those constantly on Wall Street to the White House and every state government. But from a sports aspect, we go back again to the Cleveland Guardians right now with 2 of their players being under investigation. And you also have, I believe it's Malik Beasley in the NBA. The NBA cleared him, but the feds are still in there. They're not willing to drop that case yet. It makes me believe that in order to protect the sport itself, look, if you're sitting there, Lee, you got a choice. We heard that XX is gambling against his team. We got 2 choices. We can either get in there and we can make it public right now, or we can look the other way. And we can hope that it's just an occasional bet here and there and it goes away. You and I both know that there's people making both decisions. Even though one is completely wrong, they'll bury that sucker as quickly as they can. And that's the concern, Lee, that this stuff is going to break out even more and it's going to become destructive to a lot of sports. Because there's some people saying we don't even need to get involved in it. Let's hope it goes away.
Right.
They've done it before.
I think the cases are not, we're not talking about someone betting $5 or $10 million on a game. Most of these cases are under $50,000.
Well, yeah, they started in drips and drabs, but it could be a whole lot worse.
Oh, I mean, Tim Donahue case got pretty big, but most of the cases or recent cases are in-game betting or betting on player props, and they didn't involve even hundreds of thousands of dollars. So there's always going to be something on everything. I'm not happy about it. Don't like to see it happen to the sport, but in everything, every single, I mean, you know, you got things going on in high school. You got teachers sleeping with students in every single, you know, I hate to break, almost every single type of thing that goes on in society, there's problems. Nothing's going to be 100% or foolproof.
Look, I'll tell you what I know I know one incredibly degenerate gambler who I've been friends with for years. He bets on high school football. I mean, I stunned when he told me that. He said, yeah, I got a bet on X over X. I said, what are you doing? It's high school football. He says, yeah, but it's a really good team, and it's a really great matchup, and I got good odds.
I mean, I see it. I go to some games in Miami, you know, some of the Central versus Northwestern games. I see people gambling on that, but I've never done it. Doesn't interest me. I'm not gonna go there. Wait until they hit the college side. So, you know, I want a sport where now people are getting paid like colleges. It's become, you know, these kids are getting paid, and that to me is maybe a bigger problem. You know, you got kids coming in as starters, you know, from the previous season, and then someone else comes in from another school as a freshman or another school, and you're paying a kid $500,000, $1 million, you know, and they don't pan out. Then you got bigger problems going on, you know, with your team.
Toughest question for somebody in your industry, and I was not going to let this go away without this. You've been doing this for 30 plus years. In your experience as a professional, do you like to be called a professional gambler or a professional wagerer?
Neither. Probably a handicapper, an analyst. I mean, the biggest question, the single most question I get more than anything else, I'll go to a party and people are like, who's going to win the Super Bowl? Well, I could care less, to be honest with you. Unless the Dolphins were in there and I didn't have a wager on the game.
If the Dolphins were in there and you bet any money in the next 50 years, you'd make a fortune. Right. I mean, come on.
So I just, you know, I tell them, listen, all I care about is week to week. You know, I'm looking to make my clients happy. I'm looking to win money for myself. So, you know, that's where I am as far as that is concerned. You know, it's
okay. I don't care who's going to win the Super Bowl.
I use sports. You know, I mean, I'm on almost 50 stations across the country.
So
I mean, I'm not just for someone who's gambling on a game, Ed. I get a lot of people who say they like to hear my insight. Let's say I'm on in Jackson, Mississippi. It's one of the cities I'm on in. And I'm going to obviously break down and predict Ole Miss and Mississippi State each week. You know, they don't want to hear the local broadcaster tell them each week that they think Ole Miss and Mississippi State are going to win and cover. They'd like to hear my honest opinion, and I break it down from a former quarterback's perspective, how one team.
You're another analyst, another professional role. I get that.
Will attack another's defense and looking to give them some points that they haven't heard, from their sports talk show host or an analyst. So those are some of the things.
Well, but before I get to the one question that I was going to ask, what you just talked about, isn't it fair to say that most talk show hosts, and I'm going to include myself, I don't give gambling advice. Lee, I'm the worst in the world. People come to me and they ask for my advice. Who do you think is going to win? I tell them, I'm going to tell you who I think is going to win. Now, I want you to run to the window at your nearest casino, and I want you to bet exactly the opposite of what I've bet. And you will win money. And 9 times out of 10, it comes true. So I don't even put myself in that run. That's why I talk to the experts. But is it not fair to say that all of these talkers, not all of them, most of them, 99% of them, don't have a farking clue what they're talking about when they talk about odds and gambling? I would say
a lot of sports talk show hosts know their teams fairly well.
Well, but know their teams when they're talking about gambling on the teams. Knowing the teams is one thing. I can break down, without question, I can break down just about any team, and I can talk to you intelligently about what's going on. But in making a gambling pick, most of them have no freaking clue what they're talking about. Right. Yes?
Well, because there's situations like Nick Saban. Nick Saban is a winning coach, maybe one of the greatest, maybe the greatest of all time. But look at his record as a favorite laying 25, 30 points or more, or facing one of his old assistant coaches. Usually doesn't run up the score. Those are some of the things that I'm looking for. So
you look for tendencies.
There's tendencies. I love to play on coaches for or against that have been coaching 5 or more years. You're going to see a lot of tendencies in coaches. So,
but back to the question that I need to ask, which to me is the one that is germane to this conversation. In your opinion, of somebody who has been there for so long, looked at millions of games and events, which of the professional sports, even college sports, I'll throw it in there, in your opinion, is the easiest to fix?
So it used to be college football. They had injury reports. The ACC actually, and I was there at their ACC media days, their commissioner said that they're going to start reinstituting injury reports starting on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday morning. Last year, only the Big Ten did it. So there was not official reports released in the past, but it looks like there's a wave to where someone obviously upstairs is telling them to do that. So it used to be college sports because you saw injuries that were reported, and the discrepancy, the difference from a starting quarterback to a backup quarterback was bigger. Now I would say it's the NFL. The NFL is pretty good at policing as far as injuries. There's 32 teams, and the injury reports are pretty good. And obviously there's going to be some cases where games come down to the last drive, but there's certain tendencies, that after you see the injury report and you see the teams and the teams, I would say NBA is very tough. You got to pick and choose your spots in the NBA. Baseball can be good, but a lot of people don't have, the patience to sit out and wait 3 or 4 days for a real good bet in baseball. And hockey, I'm not proficient enough in hockey, even though I have a hockey handicapper that works for me. But I would definitely say the NFL right now is the easiest sport to beat.
The easiest sport to fix now, does that mean from an individual effort, or does that mean from a connected effort? Because if you're looking at what goes on, they're all team sports, in a sense, where an individual can affect the outcome of the game as easy as possible without needing anybody else. You don't need a catcher. You don't need the receiver. You don't need anybody else to be involved in it. One person. Which one then is easiest? Still football?
NBA. I mean, there's only 5 players on the floor at one time. So if there was going to be cheating, basketball is obviously the easiest sport to manipulate. There was a scandal going years ago. I think it was Arizona State. So you get one player that has a bad game and he's on the court a lot. Very, very tough to overcome that. Whereas football, you got 11 on each side. 11 on each side. You got special teams. Baseball, you got 9 on each side. Pitcher, obviously, can affect the game the most. And then hockey, you got so many different waves of players. You got 20 plus players playing in a game. So basketball is the easiest game to manipulate. And that's why we've seen probably more scandals in basketball. And, it's easier, except for what we've seen recently, baseball, the first pitches of some of these players to find out.
Is it also fair to say that if there is an individual that is involved in manipulating a game, that the other players on the field, on the ice, on the turf, whatever it is, many of them, I mean, these people are pros, male or female, they're professionals. They can tell when somebody's dogging it, and they can tell when there's a lackluster movement or something's not happening right. But they will also cover it up in many cases. I don't see a lot of these players. If there's a player on an NBA team who's basically choking it out, and you can tell. Now, the announcers may say something, the fans may say something, the books may say something. But the players got to know. The players have to know that this guy or this gal is cheating right now, but they're not going to say a damn word. They're going to cover up.
I disagree with you. You can just say he's having an off night. I've seen, if you look at the tapes of some of the players that, have thrown games, they just throw passes out of bounds. They can be hustling up and down the court. There's other ways, missing shots. There's so many games that are going on in college basketball and the NBA. It can be just construed as being an off game.
But will the players, though, Lee, in that moment or after the game is over, will the players, in your opinion, have the guts to go up to somebody at a management level or a league level and say, hey, XYZ, I got to tell you, you better look at what he or she is doing right now because I think they're throwing the games.
No, I don't think they're ever going to do it.
Never.
We've never seen a case like that before, and they're not sure. I mean, it's very, very tough to tell. You have to go back. I mean, I didn't realize what was going on with the Tim Donaghy situation. This was an official that was fixing games.
Right.
You had to go back. I just thought he was a horrible official.
Which is possible he was, but at the same point, there are players on the floor, coaches who can see it. To me, these are the people that got to get up in the faces of the league themselves and say, I think we got a problem here. But they won't do it because of that closed-in, clandestine, whole keep everything in the locker room kind of attitude, even though it affects them and it affects the sport itself and can affect if they win a championship. I mean, if you've got a player out there who's dogging it to make a couple of bucks off one game and you wind up losing a chance to get into the playoff race by half a game, somebody should have said something.
If they're wrong, Ed, I mean, then they've ruined the whole locker room. And I think it's very, very tough as a player to figure something like that out. So I don't see that happening anytime soon. And I thought that, the money, and it's usually the role player we're seeing that does it in the NBA. Baseball, where I'm talking about a closer, which is shocking. You would think that, the minimum of making 800,000 or $1 million, or someone who's making 10, 20 million, they wouldn't do something like that. But
they don't seem to care.
It can still happen.
So I'm going to give you a chance here now because this has been a fascinating conversation. But seeing as you follow, you watch tendencies, you talk about this, let's go to this point now. We only got a couple of minutes left, but I want to make sure we get this in there. I would like to make sure that, whether it's wagering or not, that the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Jets suck the tailpipe again this year. I mean, I cannot wait for two teams to blow it more than these. Nothing makes me happier, Lee, than seeing Jerry Jones upset. Nothing makes me happier than seeing people who root for the Jets unhappy. Is there any, please tell me that these teams are not favorites to go anywhere this year? Please,
No.
please.
I don't see it happening. So actually, I grew up, even though I was a Dolphins fan, my uncle was a scout for the Dallas Cowboys. But a few years before he got out of the game as a scout, he actually found Drew Pearson. As soon as Jerry Jones took over and after Jimmy Johnson left, certainly not a Cowboys fan. So I root against them. And my youngest daughter is dating a Jets fan. So other than him being a Jets fan, he's great. But
I'm so sorry.
I get a lot of laughs seeing him laying on the ground almost every week, being upset when they lose. So, if he eventually takes my daughter's hand in marriage, I love the kid, but
Lee, you got to do something, buddy. You're the father. Yeah. You got to get in there. You got to stop it because then you're going to have grandchildren who may be Jets fans. My God, Lee, how can you exist?
I've tried. They have a picture they're living together. They have a picture above their bed with 11 Dolphins on one side and 11 Jets on the other side. My daughter will never go to the dark side. So that much I'm sure of.
Would it then also, if we're talking about this, I still believe that the odds-on favorite to be the first head coach fired this year is Mike McDaniels from the Miami Dolphins. He has done absolutely nothing. Not only that, Chris Greer, the general manager, he's another one. And I'm sure there's somebody somewhere, Lee, that's taking bets on how many games or what the date is going to be that Greer and McDaniels are fired. Because that franchise, we talk about, look, they win games. But to the fans who are here, when was the last time they won a championship? 73?
I would say it's second. He's probably second or third, Ed. The biggest problem I have with the Dolphins is the owner, number one, Stephen Ross. Here's a guy, if you say he's not the worst, name me another owner that cost the team a first and a third round draft pick. So he changed the logo of the team. I won't buy anything with the new logo. All I do is buy throwbacks. And then Chris Greer. How can you be at a job 9 years and be that bad? So McDaniel, he's not great. I'm okay with him staying as long as they win 8-9 games this year. We'll see if he can change the culture. But I think the biggest problem is the owner and the general manager.
So, but you said he was maybe third. Who's the top two then, in your opinion?
Probably the Giants head coach. They've got to do something, I would say, quick. Trying to think who else.
I'll tell you who I'll throw in there, okay?
Okay.
Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
And you know what?
He's probably got to go to the playoffs and win a playoff game.
Everybody talks about Tomlin being this genius. And I haven't seen, things happen after a while. You kind of get old and stale. But this is the guy who, one way or another, okayed Aaron Rodgers becoming the guy that you basically hang your Super Bowl chances on. Aaron Rodgers, at this stage of his career, get me somebody who at least is not 100 years past Methuselah's age.
Yeah. He certainly is one that is right there. And, maybe the Cincinnati Bengals head coach. So
the Cincinnati franchise itself is always a disaster. Between them and the Cleveland Browns, it's kind of like they hang on and you don't even worry what's going to happen. You kind of like put them aside here and everything's fine. Yeah. So that's
Zach Taylor might be too nice. They probably need a defensive coach to overcome their weakness there. But, you got some top line players like Burrow, you got Chase, you got to see more results. So got to find a defense. You got to find a decent offensive line.
So I'm not going to ask you about the Super Bowl. Don't worry. We'll get there, but not now. But you're sitting here as the handicapper who's watching.
Yeah.
Give me three teams right now in the NFL that are good bets every week.
I think that the Chicago Bears are a team with a new head coach.
Wow.
They're going to make strides. I think that Minnesota, with pretty much a rookie quarterback now, he missed the first year. Detroit lost both coordinators, and Green Bay has no secondary. I think Chicago's going to win 9, maybe 10 games there. The Titans, no one thinks much of the Titans at all, but that division isn't great with the Jaguars, the Colts, and the Texans. They can win 5, 6 games. And probably lastly, I would say the Bucs. I'm going to give you a different wager here.
Stop.
The Bucs.
Stop. You have not had your coffee this morning. Something is wrong.
I have. Here we go.
You haven't had enough, or you haven't laced it with the right stuff. Then, young man, you gotta do something to change it. You just went for Tennessee and Tampa as good bets. Wow.
So I'm looking for wagers.
Okay.
Tampa is like the 8th favorite to win their conference. Not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, but outside of Detroit, and you look at some of these other teams that are up there, San Francisco, the Rams, Green Bay, they're at like 14, 15 to 1. They really have no weakness. Look at every single position. They're solid to really good. They have a really good offensive line, good defensive coach. I have them at 15 to 1 to win the conference. So you want something with value, Tampa Bay. If they hit at 15 to 1 this time next year, Ed, I'll still be down in the Bahamas.
See, but you just said the word that I think even that we as casual gamblers, casual people who look at these things need to think of, and that's value. You look at everything as value. You don't necessarily, you're thinking both wins and losses, yes?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I can bet them before the season and obviously bet against them week to week. So, there might be a situation, Ed, where, they get in the conference championship game. I can bet the other side to hedge my bet. Let's say I can win $10,000 on them winning the conference. If another team is a pick 'em, I might bet the other team, not give it to my clients, but I might bet $5,000 the other way. So I know I'm going to at least make $5,000 either way.
So if people want to get a hold of you and they want to become one of your clients, they want to talk about it, how do they do it? I mean, I've got your social media is up there, but tell me more.
ParamountSports.com. Do all major sport, even do the UFC. And it's red hot in the UFC. We've actually won 9 of the last 10 cards. It's a little barbaric, but I like it better than boxing, which I used to love as a kid.
Because there is no boxing. Boxing's dead.
It is dead. It is dead. The UFC hasn't been great this year, but we've been able to find some great situations. So also I do a daily podcast on the Locked On Network called Locked On Bets.
Okay.
You can go to Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and listen or watch me there each day. Come out about 11 o'clock, and me and my co-host, Kevin Rogers, might be probably familiar with him, midday host here in Miami for many years, really good guy. He hails from down here, went to Killian High School in Florida State. We give out 4 or 5 free wagers every single day and discuss wagering in sports, and that's called Locked On Bets on the Locked On Network. So Locked On Bets, Locked On Network, or ParamountSports.com. If you ever want to talk to me personally, you can reach me at 800-400-9741.
Also, we've got Lee's social media here that's been up the entire show for Facebook, for Instagram, and for X as well, so you can get a hold of him there. Lee, we got to do this again. We ought to do this because we have been my co-host Mike Wise, who joins us occasionally when he is not being banned from broadcasting in Panama. He always says, "We got to get a handicapper in here, man." So let me work on these things. But
Up once in a while.
I put a hurricane in there every now and then. Things are not bad. Well, business as well. So get a hold of Lee. And also don't forget the YouTube channel, Fastest Show in Sports. You find all the shows there, all the episodes. Also on podcast, Fastest Show in Sports. We're on Podbean is our base. But you go to any place you get your podcasts, you'll find us there. Please listen and subscribe. Lee, thanks so much, partner. Pleasure to do
Thanks,
this.
Ed, for having me on.
We'll do it again. He's Lee Sterling. I'm Ed Berliner. For everybody here, rock on, true believers. See ya!
That's all, folks.